Hey, fly guys and girls. This is Ross Holliban of Fantatrax, and you're listening to Aaron and David, the heroes of Star Wars reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All.
One of resistance,
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. Welcome for another fun-filled episode as we are kicking back and discussing some Skeleton Crew. Let's get some introductions out of the way, and then we'll tell you what's going on and get the party started. My name is Aaron Harris. I am one of your hosts here, and joining me is my co-host. He is the Kanan to my Ezra, because I can be crazy. It is the David Motters. David, brother, welcome.
Hey, man. Good to be back. Excited to be covering another episode of Skeleton Crew. Greg McLaughlin from the Rebel Base Card Podcast will love that I say I am ready to react. And that's in response to him doing a little comment at the end of his most recent show. Please check that out in his coverage on this episode of Skeleton Crew. So a little shout out to him. And just like before, I'm super excited to have our guest back. She's been on with us before. And so I'm ready to get recording with her.
Absolutely. We are very happy to welcome back Christina Stevenson, longtime friend of the show, listener, and just all around awesome Star Wars fan. Welcome back, Christina. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Aaron. David, how are you both?
We are rocking it.
That's right.
Amazing. I'm so excited to talk to you both about Skeleton Crew today. It's going to be such fun.
It is going to be a blast. So let me fill you in on real quick how the party's going to roll today, because as we always say here on Reactions, David and I always say it, our family does come first. And I do have family in town right now visiting with us. We're actually in the we're not going to be able to get together at Christmas time. So we're doing our Christmas celebrations right now. So I cannot stay for the show. So I'm going to bow out gracefully and let David and Christina just have the time of their lives talking about Skeleton Crew. I will be back at the end because I can't let y'all go without the Star Wars dad joke of the week. So you will, after they're done discussing Skeleton Crew, I will be hopping back in and having a little fun with you to close out the show. But that's what's going on. I just wanted to at least let y'all know I'm doing well. I'm here, but I'm going to spend some time with my parents. So, David, Christina, Skeleton Crew's all yours.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. We'll talk to you in just a little bit.
Thanks, Aaron. You have a great time with your family. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it. See you soon.
Well, Christina, I'm so excited to be back. We had you on for an episode of The Acolyte, and we knew that we wanted you back on. We just love hearing from you. So I'm just going to jump into this. I'll give the tail of the tape, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Yeah, and then we'll just jump into initial reactions, some talking points, and then we'll do some final reactions, and then we'll get Aaron on for the dad joke of the week. So I'll start us off. So this is Skeleton Crew episode 3. It's called Very Interesting as An Astrogation Problem. I didn't think I would ever say that for the title of an episode of some show, but it was released December 10th, 2024, directed by David Lowery, and it's written by Christopher Ford and John Watts. The little synopsis, Aaron will sometimes give a longer one, but I just do the little simple one that's on Disney Plus, and this is simply a mysterious stranger offers to help our heroes. And so what we typically do on the show is we just do some initial reactions. we always have our guests go first. And so we'll continue that trend. And I'll just, ask you, Christina, what's your, initial reactions? And even if you want, we haven't talked about episode 1 and 2 with you. I don't know if you kind of feel like these three go together, but do whatever you want. Initially. Yeah.
I am really loving this Skeleton Crew. When it was first sort of being spoken about, because this has been on the radar for some years now, I understand. Like I think it was first was it 2022 or even 2023, something like that, was when we were first kind of getting hints of it coming out with Jude Law and, a kid-based adventure, pirates in space. And I was, really excited because I really do like that aspect of Star Wars. And I love that we got a lot of that in Clone Wars. And now we're getting it like Star Wars pirates in live action. And so I was quite excited for it. And really looking forward to it. And I really feel like, especially like as both you and Aaron know, The Acolyte wasn't one of the most favorite things of Star Wars that I watched. So I really feel like coming from the back of that much more dark story, it feels really nice and refreshing and really in the holiday spirit to have this sort of more family-friendly adventure. So I'm just really, really loving it. And I know you both have already spoken about episode 1 and 2. I thought they were the perfect introduction. I thought they went really well together. I really love how the first episode kind of really set the scene and started to open up the mystery of what's this planet? Where are they from? Like the Old Republic? Do they mean really old Republic or before the High Republic? It's all still a little bit of a mystery. And I really feel like that first episode did a great job of setting the scene for what's going to be that, I think, underlying mystery throughout the show. And then obviously second episode, we get our kids introduced to that wider galaxy. And I really love one of the comments was like, the galaxy wasn't meant to be this way. And I really thought how apt that was for some of the things we experience in our everyday lives. And now coming into the third episode where we really get them, I think like our little group finally all together. So we've got, Jod Na Nawood, or Jude Law's character, along with our pirate droid and our 4 kids all together now setting out for their adventure. And I think one of the standouts for me, particularly for episode 3, is Jude Law's performance and interaction and overall just his character. I love it. He's so shady, but at the same time, you think he actually does seem to genuinely care about the kids because he's always trying to keep them all together.
Yeah.
If he didn't care at all, if he was like Hondo, he would just leave some of them behind.
That's right, he would.
So I'm really enjoying this show.
Nice. Well, no, I love that. I very much wanted to get your thoughts as well in the first 2 episodes. And, I was thinking as I was earlier tonight before we jumped on together, I was thinking about these first 3 episodes. I can see why these first 3 were shown together at the world premiere. They did it at Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. And, you can see it. I know they showed us the first 2, but anybody who was there in attendance at the world premiere got to see the first 3. And I like you, I enjoyed this one just as much as the first 2, and clearly they really do go together. I like you, I really enjoyed the full introduction of Jude Law, aka, like you said, Jod Na Nawood, Crimson Jack, Captain Silver, all that kind of stuff. I love the new characters. Kim, you and I got to talk some more about Kim and her place, one of the coolest locations I've ever seen. And in fact, that's what I was mentioning here too. Like I was thinking about some initial reactions. I love that observatory moon. Another thing I was doing before I jumped on with Aaron and Christina was I was looking at the Star Wars episode guide, and they were just describing that observatory and what goes on. And all of Kim's collection. I love it. It's so cool. And the kids, when they got there, just really loved it. The other thing I would just say in my initial reactions is also piggybacking off Christina, it's that, these mysteries about Aten. We're getting more information about it. This one really laid more out, but there's so much more that they laid out after that. Like, what are these jewels, or they're planets, right? I guess Kim called them jewels of the, I don't know, old republic. How far back are we talking? But what, 6 planets or so hidden from the rest of the galaxy. And I could really see some of these mysteries, particularly the whole thing about these hidden planets and stuff, and other stories or movies being made about them in years to come. But I know I'm excited to figure out who Jod Na Nawood is as well. So quite a few mysteries here that they're laying out in the first 3 episodes. But I was going to jump into, maybe Christina, we can start there with some of these mysteries, if it's okay.
Yes.
With you. Yeah, is it?
Yeah, definitely.
What are you thinking about at Aten and what we learned in this and what Kim was telling the kids?
Yes, I know. So I think at the start of the episode, where you've got the parents kind of talking about their missing kids, and the end with Kim talking to them about the jewels of the Republic. I think those are 2 really great bookends to the episode, because you've got the parents realizing that maybe everything's not quite as they seem, because their kids have just gotten lost, and all the security droids and the mysterious supervisor seem to care about is maintaining the rules. Nobody must break the rules.
Yeah.
And then you've got, Wim's dad, Wendell, he's like sort of takes his glasses off towards the end of the scene, is looking sort of away from the rest of the group. And you can see he's thinking, I think he's thinking things don't seem to be adding up. And then you've got at the end, Kim talking to the kids about, Aten's now just a myth, it's, it's pirate treasure. It's, the treasure of Atlantis, it's El Dorado. It's just all of those, mysterious cities of lost gold that is just the stuff of legends, and that's their home. That's where they're from. So they're too starting to realize, well, maybe our home isn't as boring as we thought it was. Because, Wim keeps on saying, what? There's nothing that makes our home special. So I really love that. But sort of the big questions that I thought particularly came out of this episode were back on Aten, who or what is the supervisor? Because that gives quite a sinister vibe. And how long ago was Aten separated from the rest of the galaxy? Of course, what are the great works? And what are the jewels of the Republic? And then also, Kim had mentioned, the other worlds were destroyed. The other hidden worlds were destroyed. Well, right. Why were they destroyed and how? And right. Why did Aten be the only one to survive? And what is the purpose of the great work?
Exactly. No, I love it. And those are some of the big mysteries. What was it? I know, gosh, we're getting to the end of 2024, but in 23, just before I got to meet you in June 2023 on the Halcyon, on the Galactic Star Cruiser, there was, a celebration in London. And they announced the Rey film, right? They did that. They announced the Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Mando and Grogu film, or kind of like a Filoni-verse, Favreau-verse movie. Yeah. But the other one was James Mangold and the Dawn of the Jedi. And what I started to think about, Christina, as you were describing, how long ago did this occur? I could really see, I don't have any inside information. I have no clue. I mean, I don't even think James Mangold has started writing it yet, but, this is where you could see these jewels of the Republic, even before the Old Republic, like thousands of years ago. And it'd be interesting to see the Jedi or whoever figure out there is a Force, as well as, I don't know, maybe is it after that they start to have these planets and they're considered jewels. And like you said, what are they destroyed by Sith or in wars between Jedi and Sith? It's, this, unlike a lot of other Star Wars live action series, Christina, this one is really, I feel like, laying the groundwork for some potentially really cool movies.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I agree. And like I think like Mandalorian felt like it was the start of something going forward, whereas this almost feels like it's the start of something that you could then get stories preceding, so sort of backwards from this point. So yeah, I really agree with you on that.
Exactly. Hey, the other, kind of mystery I'd mentioned up in my initial reactions was just, who is Jod Na Nawood? And they've been really, even the creatives and even Jude Law has kind of changed what he said during these press junkets. And I think doing it on purpose just to kind of get interest going. But, so far he's got 3 names, right? Captain Silvo, Jod Na Nawood, and then Crimson Jack. And in our last episode, when we covered episodes 1 and 2, we were talking about, what is he, Jedi or pirate, force sensitive, etc. I was going to ask you your take on him, and then I want to share something and see what you think. So what's your take on him? Are we talking Jedi? Are we talking pirate, force sensitive scoundrel, all of the above, none of the above, charlatan? What's your take on him?
I feel like the only honest thing that he's really said to anybody, including us, is when they were leaving Kim's moon and the kids were bailing him up at the ship, and he kind of had that line where, he said, "I'm just like you. I'm lost and alone." And so for me, I feel like that's the first and only honest thing that he's said the whole time. I feel like he's force sensitive, but I don't necessarily think he's a Jedi. He may have had some Jedi training, or he may have been a Padawan, because we kind of know that not all Padawans make it. So just because you're force sensitive in High Republic time didn't necessarily mean that you went on to become a Jedi. And obviously he's of the age where you'd be thinking he would have been a Padawan, or even, like pre-Clone Wars. We don't exactly know how old he is. But, if you were thinking he was, maybe a Padawan pre-Clone Wars, maybe something happened. Maybe he left. Maybe he got left behind somewhere, So maybe he's had a little bit of Jedi training, but I don't think he ever actually became a Jedi.
And here's the deal. You know what? I agree with that. And I started thinking about this. And I've listened to a number of other podcasts cover episode 1 and 2. I did listen to Rebel Base Card podcast, and their coverage came out this morning. Obviously got to listen to CWK with Dan Z and the crew. But there's something that I haven't heard anybody mention, and I think it helps me to answer the question on whether he's a Jedi or not. And I agree with you, Christina, that he's not a Jedi. And it's because this little missed fact that I have not heard any other podcast mention, and I thought, well, wait, that to me, I guess I could see some leeway, but really, in essence, proves to me that he's not a Jedi. Like you said, he might have had some Padawan training, some force sensitivity, but definitely not a Jedi. And here, first episode, and he's got the helmet on. We all know it's Jude Law under the helmet playing Captain Silvo. And when the guy on that freighter refuses to give him the code to get into the safe, he tells one of his crew members, get into the safe. That alien starts that big old machine that's going to burn through the big door to the big safe. But then you hear Captain Silvo, Jude Law, say, and throw that guy out the airlock. And I thought, wait a minute, Jedi don't do that, right? Now, pirates who are a little force sensitive, or like you said, Christina, maybe a little bit of training, but not becoming a full Jedi. They don't do that. Jedi are not throwing people out of out the airlock just because they refuse to open up a safe and stuff like that. So to me, that kind of locks in that he's not Jedi. even DNZ talks about this quite a bit, how, they, use the Force and their lightsabers for defense, never aggression and stuff like that. So I don't know. Do you remember that little fact in the first one?
Yes. I remember that as well. And I remember actually thinking the same as you were when he said that, throw him out the airlock. And it was, really only on reflection after I watched like the third episode, I thought, definitely not Jedi. Because, I agree. Like, even if you'd strayed from the path, you would still not treat life so lightly.
Exactly. You preserve life, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this moon and this observatory and this new character. In fact, at StarWars.com, like I mentioned a few minutes at the episode guide, and they'll give you different pieces of data, in their data bank and stuff. But they had mentioned Kim is a species that has not yet been revealed. But to me, she looks like obviously an owl with almost like the implants that like KB has, that young girl, or we'd see with Lobot, almost like extra information going into her head. But what do you think about Kim and her pretty cool observatory?
Yes, I really loved that observatory. I remember when I first sat and watched the episode for the first time, and they were kind of walking up and you were seeing all the domes and the observatory moving. And I just thought it was, like you said, a really cool new location. And, you didn't really know what to expect when he's like talking about going to meet this friend who's a backstabber. So I think it was a really nice reveal when it kind of, you come in and you see this small little owl-like creature come down and be in front of you, rather than something more fearsome. But I really like the character design, like the animatronics for it was just amazing. And like she had such good expression on her face. Like I just don't know how they managed to pull that off. It really is movie magic. And like the characterization with the voice acting was just superb. She's definitely one of my new favorite Star Wars characters. And I love her, like she's like a archaeologist hoarder. She has piles and piles of, data pads and scrolls and all of those wall hangings. And it's amazing. You just would like to be able to explore all of her archive.
Oh, no question. This actually ties into a talking point that I wanted to go over with you, and I kept it from last week's. I talked to Aaron about this. I talked to Jeff McGee about this from Star Wars Splash Page, and it's I asked the question: is it me, or does this series look better visually than a lot of the other Star Wars live action series like Kenobi or even Acolyte? And I want to tie back around to something you said, Christina, which was even the actors, the young actors talked about this at the world premiere. They said, I think they'd wrapped shooting a year ago or more. And I thought this thing was supposed to be released at least a year ago. But I wonder if it's the case that extra year or extra time on post-production led to better special effects. Like I'm thinking of all of these Port Borgo, the spaceport. They look incredible. They look better than basically anything in some of these other series. And coming back around to what you said, when I'm sitting there watching Kim, this owl in the face, and the feathers and the detail, I'm like, this took a long time to create. And so I wonder, I don't know the backstory on all this, Christina, but like, why did this take so long to get out? I wonder if they stopped and just said, you know what, we're going to take more time on special effects. I don't know. It feels like that, but I'm bringing this all the way back around to what you said, that I just feel like the special effects in this are just better. Is that, do you see that as well when you watch this?
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like it's really movie quality. It's definitely a step up from from everything that we've seen previously for the Star Wars television shows, like for the Disney Plus shows. They and I agree with you. I do, like, I don't know if it was their intention to delay the release to improve the special effects and the CGI, or if they just took advantage of it. But either way, the end product is sensational. Like, you really feel immersed. Everything feels real and detailed. And exactly like you were saying with that part with the pirate port, like, that is just amazing. It is like, modern day computer game level, like, detail in all of the little areas that you see, because you've got like all the different levels, and you've got the under level where the brig is, and it looked sensational, and there was nothing in it that sort of took me out and made me think I'm watching a movie. It was very immersive. So yeah, completely agree. I really think they've stepped it up quite a bit. Particularly, I guess you sort of mentioned Obi-Wan, and I think that's one of and I love that show, because I love Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I really enjoyed everything, because the performances in the emotional weight of that series was really didn't suffer from anything, but certainly I think the special effects did, and I think it's probably just the time and COVID and still quite early on in using the volume, but I think this show is heads and shoulders above where Obi-Wan was in terms of visual effects.
Like, even I think about Acolyte, like, the Stranger, like, I think about him appearing, I think about May, the twins, Kalnaka, the different sets. I always felt like, even when they were in the Jedi Temple, I always felt like I could see the volume, right? This is something that I've mentioned on previous episodes. And I'm curious with you, Christina, like with the Disney Gallery, right? When they did that after season 1 of The Mandalorian, you're like, oh, wait, now, you have this knowledge of the volume and how they do this. I've noticed my brain almost looking for it, like, okay, where does the practical set end and where does the volume start? And with Acolyte, you could really tell at times, okay, here's the set, when they're fighting, and right back there is the volume. On this, like you said, the opening shot when they go down underneath the port, like you said, with the brig down underneath, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. I don't know if you noticed it. There's even the scene when the kids are in the little hovercraft going out to the Onyx Cinder, right, the ship, and Jude Law sees it and he goes, oh no, not like, almost like I don't know, Luke's first Falcon with the junk. Like,
did you notice like the cloud of like debris or dust or whatever it was that was around the ship?
That's what I was just going to ask you. It's almost like a pig pen from the Peanuts. I don't know if you've ever seen it, right? All the dust and stuff coming up.
Absolutely. And I thought it was really good, because they were talking about how the ship was a bit of was a bit crap, and how it smelled bad. And then, you come across it. With this little cloud of whatever.
Oh my gosh. And to do that detail, that again takes a long time, a long time. What was I going to say? So definitely want to ask you about that. I know. A question I was going to ask you, just to kind of, as a talking point, when the X-Wing showed up, did you have a feeling you might see Carson Teva? When, that character who we've seen as a New Republic pilot, right? He's the one who recruited, right?
Yes.
You know who I'm talking. He's been.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
I thought we see him, but when the cockpit opened, it wasn't him. So.
I mean, I'm kind of glad it wasn't him. He can't be everywhere.
He can't be everywhere. Yeah. True. That is true. But with the blue stripe down the side, they really kind of conveyed to us that this is right in the Mandoverse kind of time.
That's right. And they had the New Republic symbol on the X-Wings.
Yes, nice, yes. So I guess is there any other like kind of talking points you wanted to mention that I'm not thinking about? Those are just some of the ones I wanted to cover with this episode, particularly the mysteries. But is there any other kind of talking
I
points
guess
or
there's
insights?
there's
Yeah.
just like two more kind of mini mysteries that
Ooh.
came up to me from this episode. So I feel like they probably will be addressed at some point. And one of them is Jod does not seem to like droids.
Yes.
So why is that? Why
Yeah.
does he not like droids? So that's not the first sort of little mystery that I'd like. And that kind of, was he lost in the Clone Wars or before the Clone Wars, or was he somehow involved? And is that why he doesn't like droids? I mean, it's an obvious answer, but it's, one that you have to think about. And then the other thing was right at the start of the episode, when the parents were all worried about their kids being lost. It was just a real quick kind of moment, but one of KB's mums said, my daughter has urgent medical needs. So I wonder, is there kind of something some underlying illness, and is that the reason why KB has the headgear on, all of the cybernetics, the implants? Is it because of this underlying medical condition, and is that going to somehow lead into a future kind of adventure for our collective?
Oh, I really like that. Oh my gosh, you just took it next level. When you mentioned him, him telling, SM-33, clean this up, droid. And of course, he just knocks the bowl off and stuff. But you know what I had vibes of was Kanan Jarrus, and when he kind of was first getting around the clones, and Ezra was
Exactly.
like, right? So
Yep.
absolutely thought about that when you mentioned it. So yes.
And then there was another line that he said when they were just about to leave Borgo, and he told KB to get the hyperdrive ready, and she said, "Oh, I'll go get SM-33," and he said, "No, do it yourself." Something to the effect of, you'll only be let down if you rely on a droid. Can't remember the exact line, but something to that effect.
You're nailing it. No question. So again, Christopher Ford and John Watts, after the work they did on those three newest Spider-Mans, these creatives are pretty incredible. And then of course the directors they've got. But do you I mentioned some Easter eggs from the first two episodes, and are you picking up on those, Christina? And do you notice any? Did you notice any in this one? I did notice a few. I always like to kind of mention a few, but what are you picking up on? What kind of Easter eggs?
There was one little Easter egg right at the start that I thought was really kind of cute, and that was when Jod was trying to open the force field barrier so that they could escape the prison, and he's sort of hot wiring the thing. And the first time he hot wires it and he thinks he's got it, the barrier goes from blue to red, and then it takes him another go to get it open. And I just thought that was a really nice sort of Return of the Jedi callback.
Nice. Well, and you know what? You just mentioned it. I just thought about it when they get to Kim's observatory. 3 of those talking eyes come out, just like we saw in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
There. I want to give credit to the Rebel Base Card podcast. I did not notice this. I should just hit pause, looking out at the spaceport, but apparently they saw Star Tours, the ship that you ride in Star Tours, the ride at Disneyland and Disney World, is out there in the spaceport. I did see a clip where they pointed out a ship, and I did recognize it. It's the Guavian Death Gang, their ship that we see from from A Force Awakens, right? And then I don't know if you saw the video, but this really keen-eyed observer noticed a ship. This would have been from episode 2 as they're pulling in, and it's the original model that I think it's Colin Cantwell did for the Millennium Falcon. And Lucas ended up not being able to use it because Space 99 came out at that time and their main ship was that. But they have it out there. If people look, they'll find the video of that, and just a nice little nod to that original design. So I was wondering, like, if there's more ships out there that I would recognize. But so a lot of little fun Easter eggs there. Let me ask you about this one, Christina. What did you think about? And again, this might be a little bit of a mystery too, because this is kind of the theme of this episode. What you and I are noticing is, why does Fern, as they're leaving, right, on that little, I guess call it dinghy or whatever that little transport out to the ship, why does she say this was too easy, right? Now that's an Easter egg to me because, we see Princess Leia say that in 1977 when they escaped the Death Star. She's like, that's all too easy. And of course, they were following them back to the Rebel base. But I don't know. Did you pick up on that? Like, why is...
Yeah, I picked up on that too. And I thought, have they let Silvo, because that's who he is to them, escape so that they can use the kids to find at Atten? But then, they did seem to be looking for him when he went back to get SM-33. So, yeah, I'm not entirely certain if that's something that'll lead to betrayal in the future, or if it's just Fern being naturally pessimistic and skeptical, because she seems quite untrusting.
Yeah.
Overall.
She does.
Maybe it's because she's a liar.
Well, she does work it, doesn't she?
She does.
Trying to mess with him and tell him that there's these worker minds underneath the school.
Exactly.
So, well, let me ask you this before we kind of get into our final reactions and we have Aaron, come back on. But I was going to ask you, how are you with child actors, and do you have a favorite child character here in this series?
Yeah, so some shows or movies that have kids at the forefront the kids can sometimes be really annoying.
Yeah.
But I'm not finding that for this at all. I find all of them really quite endearing. I really like their different personalities and how they interact together. And I know that Neil is the fan favourite, but I don't know, I kind of have a soft spot for Fern actually, because she, I guess, maybe because she's a girl character, and I really like seeing strong, independent thinking girls that are not afraid to take control and take leadership. And I really think that's one of the things that I have always loved about Star Wars. It's what I loved about Princess Leia. And, as a young girl, when you're watching a TV show or a movie where it shows a woman out front, not being afraid, it really lets you know that you can be that too, and to not be afraid and to not worry. And so I really like that they've got that Fern's strong character actually being almost like the leader of the kids and not being afraid to take that role.
Very nice. Well said. No, I really like that. Yeah. So just any other talking points? I know you mentioned a few other mysteries, which I think was perfect to add on to really what this show is doing, is setting these mysteries out there, and hopefully over the next five episodes, hopefully they'll help understand some of them. Are there any other points or insights or anything like that? I think just the interactions, going back to sort of talking about the kids and that sort of thing. What I really love is how Jod interacts with, I have to remember to say Jod and not Jude, interacts with all of the kids differently. So he is different things to all of them. He's a lot more antagonistic when it comes to Fern. They have a really great back and forth, which I find really amusing. But then when it comes to sort of Wim and Neil, he's a little bit more encouraging and, really plays into the, Force sensitive, I'm a Jedi kind of, aspect of his
con. And yeah, so I just really enjoy how they've managed to have little tiny differences in his performance depending on which kid he's with.
Nice. You got me thinking about one more Easter egg, and it's subtle, but it's there, and you got me thinking about it with Fern and Wim, is when Jod, like you said, we'll go Jod, not Jude, that he gets them into those gun turrets, and I immediately thought of A New Hope, and I really think of Fern as Han Solo, right? And just she's got that smirk on her face, and then you see Wim getting into the other gun turret, and so he's got
like
more
Luke.
right, just like Luke, know.
Yeah.
And so very, very subtle nod, but I had the second time watching, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's Han and Luke going into either gun turret on the Falcon. So yeah, another nice little homage to the original trilogy and stuff like that. So well, we'll dive final reaction. And do you want to go first? You want to take it?
Yeah, sure. Happy to go first. I really am thoroughly enjoying just going along on this adventure with the kids. It's great. The way the first couple of episodes made me kind of feel was like I was a kid watching Caravan of Courage and the Battle for Endor again. Like it really has those same in the Star Wars universe, but kind of contained story to it. And I just really, it was really so enjoyable. And it's just like even though there are some elements of darkness and in the background in the pirate scenes, there's a lot of dark things going on, people stealing boots and vomiting and fights and a brothel. But, you only see those as an adult. A kid watching this show wouldn't necessarily pick up on all of that stuff. So I really love how it's something that you can watch as a family, and it's something that can be both light and dark at the same time. And it just feels like Star Wars. And I think the production is amazing. I think the acting from all of the kids is top notch. And one of the things we haven't really spoken about is the amazing musical score. It's perfect. I just really love the music as well. It really ties it all together like is required for Star Wars.
Nice. Well said. In fact, my final reactions really, really tie into yours, actually, because what I wanted to do is just ask really a simple question. It's kind of like what, our friends on the Rebel Base Card podcast do, Greg McLaughlin, Greg Cass, and whatever guests they have on. And they get questions going to get conversation going. And our listeners here can hear, Christina just mentioned that it is upbeat, it is positive. You can sit down with your family and watch this, no matter what your family, who it's made up of, it doesn't matter. So the question I have to kind of bring this together is, why is this live action Star Wars series being so well received by fans and critics? I mean, even my son mentioned, he goes, Dad, you realize this has a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes. You're like, holy mackerel. And so it's a question, just to think about. And so what I wanted to do was, there's a person online. I've got to meet him back at Star Wars Celebration in 2017. He's a musician. He's part of F105, Din Skysinger, and he's got some really neat comments, really deep thinker, big Tolkien fan. But I was looking at Facebook, and it was about this series. And let me just read it here. It says, quote, timing. Star Wars 77 came out at a dark time, and movies were dominated by anti-heroes. We live in a darker time, and fantasy, Star Wars included, has been dominated by anti-heroes. But the paradigm is shifting, and I don't think people want that as much as a few years ago. This is one reason why Skeleton Crew is a hit. People need something positive right now. That's what fantasy is at its core, upliftment. And I thought that was interesting because I've heard a lot of commentary about when George Lucas came out with the original Star Wars, it was in it, to address some of the really, like what Towering Inferno and Poseidon and all these other kind of movies that were very dark and negative and stuff. And this one seems to be hitting maybe the right timing again, but I don't know. I know Aaron's here, Aaron's back, and Christina, you're here. Is this hitting at the right time? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, I think so. I think we, the collective we, just needed something that was light and something that was more in keeping with the Star Wars that made us love the franchise to begin with before it was a franchise. I just really feel like it goes back to the basic underlying themes and elements of what makes a good story, of what makes a hero's journey. And I think that's what it is at its heart. It's a hero's journey. It's a coming of age story. That's why we love fantasy. I grew up reading fantasy. I was a voracious fantasy consumer. So, there's not a lot of the fantasy properties from the sort of 80s, 90s that I didn't just consume. And it's because you need that, reassurance when you're growing up, and particularly when you're becoming a teenager where things are changing so dramatically for you as a young individual growing up into an adult, that you can see other people of the same age, because our heroes' journeys are always sort of adolescence, journeying into adulthood and facing demons and conquering them. And so I think that that's what's resonating.
Nice.
Well, I'm back, so I'm going to jump in on this too, because I agree with everything Christina said. She's spot on with all of that. But I would also add to the fact what's making this show so appealing to everybody right now is people are going into this blind. And that's one thing I've enjoyed so much about this series so far is I have no expectation. With the second and third season of Mando, with Ahsoka, with Acolyte, even with Andor, there was stuff being leaked out from the sets. There were behind the scenes stuff being out there. This is what's happening. This is happening. Oh, look, spoiler alert, this is going to happen over here. So you go in with this mentality of, okay, I know this is going to happen, or somebody says something and everybody latches onto it. That doesn't happen, then everybody's upset. So you get all these preconceived notions. Skeleton Crew, they got right. They did not let anything leak out. There was no chatter about this anywhere.
That's
since
true.
the announcement. And so with it now being live on the air, we're getting our first glimpse of everything. Even the trailers, they released 2 trailers with it, the first one, a month before the first episode, month and a half before the first episode. And that was our first glimpse at literally the characters. So this is literally people experiencing something for the first time without any preconceived notion of what to expect. And I think that is refreshing to a lot of people, especially a lot of seasoned people like ourselves who grew up as kids. You didn't know what you were watching until it came on the TV. We had a new episode coming on. Okay, cool. I don't know what it's going to be about, but let's watch it. I love this show. So that's just how we grew up. So it's got that nostalgia feel to it. But then in today's society, when you're used to having all the information at your fingertips before it even comes out, we don't have that for this. And I think that's what makes Skeleton Crew so special at this moment.
Yeah, I love that, Aaron. Really love that. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like I missed a great discussion.
Well, it's awesome to have Christina on. She really, I was talking about some of the mysteries and she even added more on. And so it's fun. It's fun, all these little mysteries, and it keeps us coming back for more. And like you said, Aaron, I love what Christina said. I agree with her, you as well. I remember hearing a few other podcasts really over 2024 saying, we haven't heard anything about Skeleton Crew. And like you said, I think it was first week of November, because this came out first week of December. That was the first trailer, and they were able to keep stuff really under wraps, and things were really quiet, and so there wasn't this big build up or hype or expectations, and it's really benefiting from that.
It is, and it is, and hopefully Lucasfilm and Disney see the excitement behind this show because of, and they link that together, that hey, we kept things under wraps on this show pretty good. What do we have to do to make this happen going forward? Which I got a feeling would make these shows, their future projects, even more successful. That when you don't know about something, it makes it that much more enjoyable. Because you have no expectations, you have no preconceived. You go into Star Wars having an expectation because it's Star Wars, but when you don't know what's going on, you don't know the story, and it's something new, it's exciting to be a part of, and that's why I'm stoked. I've enjoyed every episode of this. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and I guess close things out here. Of course, we would love to hear from everybody and let us know what you think of episode 3 of Skeleton Crew, and just let us know your thoughts on the series as a whole. You can do that at any of our social media accounts. So we are at Facebook, and as David lovingly calls, Twitter X. At SW Reactions Pod, of course, Facebook, or I already said Facebook, Carabast. I've been on the show 5 minutes and I already got a total, and I have a Carabast moment. Are you kidding me? Anywho, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Tumblr, Pinterest, and Blue Sky at SW Reactions, YouTube SW Reactions. Of course, you can also email us swreactions@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at Star Wars Reactions. Excuse me, I got that wrong. Leave us voicemail at speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions. I was reversing it. Carabast. Well, I'm getting tongue twisted, and I've only been on the air 5 minutes. Christina, anything you want to, any socials or anything you want to share if somebody wants to talk Star Wars with you?
I'm not really particularly active on the socials, but if anybody wants to chat with me, I'm sure you guys would be able to pass on a message.
Absolutely, we'd love to. So if you want to get a hold of Christina or send comments or questions for her, reach out to us. We can get them to her. We talk quite regularly, actually, so we can definitely make that happen. David, how about you, brother? Have somebody wants to talk Star Wars with you, how'd they go about doing that?
Absolutely. I am, Twitter X has been the same forever. It's at David_Modders, MODDERS. I mentioned Instagram. I haven't been very active. Please forgive me. But name David Modders. And just like, Christina mentioned, same with me. If you, send something to Aaron at any of our Star Wars Reaction socials, he always gets those over to me. And I had a Carabast moment last week. I'm just going to say this. I did mention that we were on Podcast Stardust, Aaron and I, with Dennis Keithley and Jay Krebs. But I forgot to mention, but this is fine too. We're recording this on December 12th, but Aaron's birthday was 2 days ago, December 10th. And so I just hope everybody wishes Aaron a big belated happy birthday at this point. So happy birthday, brother.
Oh, shucks. Thank you.
Yeah, happy birthday, Aaron.
Thank
I
you.
always have to be careful to time my happy birthdays for you guys because I get the notification when it's the right day for me here in Australia, but I always have to wait a few hours before I send the happy birthday message, so I'm not too early.
I love it. Yeah, that's true. You do have the time. We do have the time zone issue there. But no, thank you both. Thank you for everybody. I did get a lot of messages from a lot of people out there who saw it on social. So I appreciate those wishes, and they are appreciated, and I thank you. It was a good birthday. So, well, if you do want to talk Star Wars with me, X is the best place at TA Harris 121079. Or of course, if you as David said, if you hit up any of the show socials, they come directly to me, so you'll be talking to me. So hit us up there as well. So, well, I had to jump back on for one specific reason, because I can't let the show go without a dad joke of the week. And I got one for y'all.
Okay.
Here we go.
We're ready.
This one's a little different. Normally I propose a question and then there's a funny answer. This one's a little bit of a story. You ready?
Okay.
2 clones were on patrol in Topeka City. As they were walking through the factories, one clone points at a machine and goes, "Hey, I wonder what that thing does." The other clone looks at the machine and goes, "That makes 2 of us."
Oh, no.
That one's good, actually. I don't mind that one.
Good. I know. I love Christina. That's actually good. That makes, oh my gosh, that's a good play on it. Yeah, so Aaron, you not only like to torment my soul here in the US, but now we're going to torment Christina down in Australia and our other listeners around the world. And so you are more than willing to spread your joy or...
I'm an equal opportunity global instigator, so.
Yeah, you are. Oh my gosh.
All right.
Oh my God.
Christina, thank you so much for joining David tonight and talking about Skeleton Crew. We definitely appreciate you joining us and hanging out, and looking forward to doing it again soon. David, brother, wonderful job. Thank you for doing this and letting me spend time with the family this week. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are great. Y'all are the best. We love y'all. We're praying for you. Wishing y'all the best. Stay safe and happy this holiday season. Do something kind this holiday season and just make the holidays a little brighter for everybody. Remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.